Yeah, well, I'm super grateful to be here today. Is my video all right? Yeah.
Yes.
Once again, my name is Victoria Kelly. You can follow me on Instagram at Victoria Kelly Hairstyling. And today we're going to talk about wigs. So I'm going to show you how to make editorial wigs. Here's one I made a few weeks ago. She was all blonde. I've colored her, all that other good stuff since then, and she's been styled. And she's just on styrofoam head now. But let's go over some supplies that we're gonna need. First of all, you're gonna want weft hair. This is just from Sally's, and you're gonna want 2 packs of it. It can be any length or color. This is human hair. It was just whatever was on discount because I'm gonna color this anyway, so it didn't really matter to me. But you do wanna make a game plan for what colors you wanna make your wig and things like that. So weft hair, I like to use a hot glue gun. It's the easiest for me to use because if you mess up, you can peel it right off. Wig caps. Some people like to use stocking caps. I always put 2 down when I'm gluing it so you don't glue it to the head. Or you can use the netted ones too, which is another option. Those don't work as well for me, but it's just personal preference at that point. Some junky scissors you don't mind ruining. You want to cut the weft hair with it. I always have a marker, so I can mark where my starting point is and where the center point is on the head. Or you can always use just weft glue, once again, just from Sally's. For this one is dark, but I would be using clear since this is going to be a lighter colored mannequin. And then you want a flat iron, probably an older one because you're going to use this to make your closure. I do have an old one I used to make closures, but that's packed away somewhere in my kit, so this is my nice one. If you don't know what a closure is, it's the top that you put on the wig, and I will show you how to make this in a little bit. All right, so to make an editorial wig, it's going to be a little bit different than just making a wig somebody's going to want to wear every day. You want to think about the style and the look you're going for. So on the one I just showed you, I knew I wanted it to have bangs, so I knew it needed to be centered and to have a little bit thicker fringe in the front. And with this one, I have everything pinned forward because I was just going to be shooting this from the front. So I wanted to focus most of the hair around the face that way. So I already have some hair pre-cut here. You want everything about 1 inch to 1.5 inches in thickness when you're doing that. I pre-cut everything before I go from there. All right, so I guess we're just going to get started if we don't have any questions. I always mark the center, so from the nose, so I know where my starting point is. I'm going to turn her sideways real quick, just so I can adjust the wig caps.
Victoria, it looks good from here, so have fun. I'll be in the background if anyone needs anything or answering questions.
Cool. So again, I have the first wig cap on her and it's pulled over her ears just for tightness so it stays forward. This other one's set up to where her hairline actually would be. So there's the center of my wig. So I'm going to take my first weft piece and my hot glue gun and just go for it. So this wig is everything is going to be pushed forward and styled up and forward. So I'm going to center it right over that line there. And then just hold it down for a second. And what you're going to do, you're going to want to bricklay everything. Ooh, she's not sticking. The good thing about the hot glue is you can just peel it off the weft if it's not going to work, if it's not sticking for whatever reason. Actually, I need more glue. And then put it right over the band and then hold it on. There we go. And then we're going to take another piece and we're going to do about 2 to 3 fingers in width depending on how much stretch you want for this. So I want a little bit less stretch in the front, so I'm going to use 2 fingers and then I'm going to mark where I'm going to put that. So 2 fingers. And then there's my mark, so I know where I'm going to start the next piece. Now you don't have to use the marker. Once you get quick at it, you just figure out where you're going to go from there. But the marker is the easiest way to see where you're going to have all of your bricklay pattern. Kind of work around the head that way. And make sure you do put it just above the band here, since that's going to get covered up anyways. Or if you are securing it to somebody's head, you can cut that out. I'm sorry my head keeps getting cut off. I wasn't expecting to use my phone. And I'm just putting a little bit more glue on my corner here. And then hold it down. Now my wonderful friend, Dallin Flint, he is the one who taught me how to make these editorial style wigs. Now I'm saying it's gonna be editorial because it's designed to be styled and shot with a photo. So it's getting placed on the head a specific way. I would not be making a wig necessarily like this for somebody to wear out and about. That would take a different type of closures that I'm actually not skilled to make, if I'm being honest. And then again on the other side in the front, you're gonna take 2 fingers and then mark and then lay your rough down. And then you're gonna wanna work all the way around the perimeter like this, using 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. I generally vary in sizes just because I feel like it tends to look a little bit more natural that way. A little bit more glue there. And then you're going to continue this around. Oh, she fell off. But see, if you don't like it where you place it, you can just peel off the hot glue. That's the best part about using the hot glue when you're just starting out. You'll figure out your pattern along your way. This is not my normal hot glue gun, so I do apologize that I'm struggling a little bit with it. Here we go. That's sticking better now. Oh, sorry, that was my dog you heard in the background. My bad. Her name's Haley. I don't know why she's being sassy. Sorry if that's distracting, guys. Now this piece is just over the ear, so I am angling this up just a little bit. And we're holding that down.
Spin her a bit so we can see her from the side.
Yeah, so this is right where her ear is, so this one's kind of diagonal back a little bit more. Make sense? I always tend to leave a little bit more stretch right there.
Definitely. How long have you been doing this, Victoria?
I learned this back in September when I took Dallin Flint's and Alicia Orbella's editorial remix class at his salon out in Utah. But the Qun Academy, which if you guys didn't know, I didn't tell you that, I am an educator for Qun Hair Cosmetics. And they're some of our academy trainers. They're phenomenal people. And they do offer that editorial remix class too. And he'll go more into depth with this. So I just learned that this September, and I just started, since being in quarantine, we all need new hobbies. I realized I don't have any hobbies besides doing hair. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. But yeah, I'm like, I don't have any other hobbies besides doing hair. What do I already have at home? What can I create with it? Well, I had a couple of things of weft hair that I had bought for something. I don't even remember anymore why I had it. I did work at Sally's for a very long time when I was just starting out some years ago, and I worked there forever until I had my clientele built. But it's probably just something left over I had from then. And I decided I was going to try my go at a wig because I had an idea for a photo shoot that I wanted to do. And yeah. So as we work around the back of the head, I'm just gonna continue and follow the edge there. I do need to smooth this stocking cap out a little bit. There we go.
What I love is that this isn't something you've been doing for a long time.
No.
And to come on here today and walk us through it. And it's relatively new for you. But I think it's great that we can all learn something at this time too. And it's something you found a passion to do and in the last few months, really.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much fun to do. And I've always loved Dallin's work, and he's always been such an amazing educator and friend to me. Very helpful whenever you need him. Like, he always answers you, even if it's at 3 a.m. You'll get a message back from him. He's just one of those people. Can we see how we're still spacing everything out?
Yes.
Cool.
Could you give me some examples of wigs that have been made and editorial shoots they've been worn for? Why the look may be? Why do it with a wig instead of real hair?
What you would do with what?
Why are these things done with a wig instead of using someone's real hair to do it? Why use a wig in place of that, etc.?
So a lot of the times with the models that you're doing specific shoot for, sometimes their model agency says that you can color their hair, but you have to color it right back. Well, instead of even messing with it, if you're not allowed to touch their hair due to the model agency, you'll whip out these wigs prior to it and make shoot day go much quicker. And then you don't have to worry about getting in trouble with the modeling agency. So that's one reason why he started doing it. He made these wigs for Naha. He won back in 2015, I want to say. It was just incredible. But yeah, those models could not have colored hair per the agency. So that's why he made those wigs for them, put them on, put them off, and they were good to go. Didn't have to worry about anything that way. It's little things like that you don't think about when you're working with models sometimes, or sometimes the models even changes their own mind about having their hair colored.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, I just want to make sure, like, there is a need for this. That's what's great.
This isn't just because I'm bored. I do have a whole photo shoot planned out with these wigs, and I'm like, well, why not go live and make some more of them together? Okay, so now that we have the perimeter done, I'm gonna work my way back to the front of her head here, and we're gonna bricklay. So I'm gonna start off, I like to do 1 to 2 fingers, depending on how far and how much fullness you want in the front of the head. Again, you wanna leave space so you have some stretch in there. Make sense? So I want it fuller in the front, so I'm only gonna do 1 finger right here for this other perimeter going around. And I'm gonna take a slightly bigger piece in the front here.
How long do these typically last with the hot glue and the way you're making them here?
This one over here I've had made for a couple months now, and she's just been chilling. I restyled her a few times here and there just because I could, type thing. But you can always add and take out weft pieces too. So say I didn't want her to have bangs, I could pull the hot glue right off and re-glue a lower piece and color it if I want her to have like a part or something like that. That's what makes it easy with the hot glue, because you never have to, it's not technically permanent on the head, but it does hold up as long as you want it to.
What are the other adhesive options then to make it more permanent?
You could use a hair bonding glue like the Super Bond, something like that, from, if you can see that from Sally's too. That's a lot more hardcore, and you would, it would probably last quite a bit longer. But I like to have the option to pull them apart and like redo them if I choose to with something a little different. Give it a slightly different look, but you still have your base laid down, even if it's just ripping a couple wefts off.
Yeah, and when you're practicing, you can take it off and reuse it and just continue to practice without a huge investment.
Absolutely. And the thing is, hair is expensive. You want to get as many uses out of it as you can. Even having a professional discount, like I think this was even on clearance too. I still spent, I don't know, over $100. And I mean, at this time when we're not working, that's still a lot of money. Thankfully, I had purchased this before quarantine. Because like many stylists, I'm self-employed and I haven't been able to get any sort of unemployment, unfortunately. So there's my first bricklay. So I'm going to continue this around the head once again, still leaving 2 fingers in between every piece. And you want to make sure you're covering up all of your gaps that you made. This hair's a little tangly. I always brush it out before I put it on the head too. I pre-brushed this before I started, but it's been laying here for a minute. Some people also will take their wefts and cut as they go. If you want to do it that way, you absolutely can, depending on the look you're going to make, but I feel like it's easier to pre-cut all the hair into 1 to 1.5 inch sections, so then I don't have to worry about anything else. As I'm going, I can just keep working up and around the head. I feel like I get done a little quicker that way too.
What's the most difficult thing you've had to overcome in the beginnings of making a wig? What have you found the most difficult thing to do is?
After you color it, sometimes you lose wefts if they're not glued down properly, which I mean, that happens. Like once you get it wet, it can do that. All right, I need to plug my phone in real quick. I'm gonna lose a little light behind me.
That's okay.
Sorry, I didn't realize my battery was dying that bad. Let's see. Yeah, we're charging. There we go. I wasn't expecting to have to use my phone for this. I was trying to use my laptop, but you know, technical difficulties. Is that too much light?
They'll let us know.
Okay. Hopefully you can still see me, guys. But yeah, the hardest part is like figuring out your placement and how you want to work around the head. I definitely struggled with that and had a meltdown the first day one day I was trying to make a wig. Because, you know, you have to feel like, I'm a professional, I should know how to do this, because I took a class on it. No, trial and error. Error is still an issue. Or sometimes the hot glue is not sticking. Apparently, I bought sticks that are too small for this hot glue gun, and that is like my struggle right now.
There has to be something, and if your something is only that it's not the best hot glue gun, we're in a good spot.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't find where my nice one is. I probably left it at the salon or something. Who knows? So I'm continuing that bricklaying. You can see where it's starting to stack up the head now. I'm gonna take it back to the other side. Now there's definitely different ways you can go about making the wigs and putting the parts in and things like that. But again, that's pre-planning on your part and how you want to work around it. Like I said, with hairstyle, it's going to be big, kind of mohawky and up and forward. And that's why I'm putting all the pieces forward. Do we have any questions or anything?
Well, I think we're good for now. They've been rolling in, and I've been giving them to you.
Now you'll typically see me pick up and put a little bit more glue on the edges. That's where I feel like I have the most issue when the hair starts to buckle a little bit. because having it wrapped up in the weft, sometimes you get like weird corners where it bends a little bit there and it's not laying completely flat on the head. So adding a little bit more glue helps with that.
I trust you know what this means.
Ooh, what was that? Hello? You're super staticky if you're trying to talk. I just heard all static. I see your face. I can't hear you though. No, Willie, you're all staticky still. Can you hear me? Am I static also? Okay. I'm fine. Willie's not fine. Okay. It's all mine from here. Okay. Well, I will go back and answer any other questions if we have them at the end. So I'm still continuing my brick lay down and around. Take your other weft, keep brushing. It does get rid of some of the looser hairs that way too, so you don't have to worry about gluing any of those to your hand.
How's this?
Ooh, I can hear you again.
Do you always start laying the hair in the direction that you are now?
Depending on how I want to style it, I will work off of that. So I knew this one was going to be up and forward. That's why I'm starting it this way. You're always going to want to do a bricklay pattern. So if I wanted to have a part down the middle, I'd make that line and then I would start bricklaying it in an opposite direction. So if it was going to be parted down the middle or even off to the side, you want to leave a section so you can make a different closure for that. And then you would continue it across the parietal that way and then work your way down, still bricklaying everything. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. And I'll show you how to make one kind of closure today. It's a little bit more advanced even for me to make different parting closures, or you could always buy the lace front closures and just add them to your own creations. Once again, I just like using it with hot glue because I can whip it off and reuse it for something else that I'm going to do, a photo shoot or any sort of styling for. Okay, so you kind of get the point working up and around the head. I'm going to come back to the front because once again, that's where I want most of the fullness to be. And I'm going to continue this back to where her top of her crown would be. So I'm going to put a line there so I know where to stop. And balance the marker on her head, so right below here. And I'm going to keep bricklaying this forward and back. Now, I don't know if you caught on, but I was using all of the 1.5 inch pieces, working my way in the front, because that's where I want the fullness. The more you get closer to the crown area, that's when your pieces are going to want to be about 1 inch. It's easier to fill in the smaller pieces that way versus having the slightly larger ones like this. I'm still doing about 1 finger's width of gap for my last piece that I bricklayed and pushing that down. So we're still moving it up and forward and bricklaying.
How long does it typically take you to do a whole wig?
A whole wig with all of the hair depends on what I'm doing and how much my dog is bothering me. Sometimes she likes to play with the hair because I don't know why, it just amuses her, which is why I have her shut out of the room. But 1 to 2 hours, depending on how much hair I'm trying to pack into the wig. And then sometimes I'll take multiple days on a project too, just because I want the glue to dry overnight. And so it can sit, and then I'll color it and then let that sit for generally longer because this is not attached to a human. You don't have any body heat. So I normally let my colors sit up to 2 hours, depending on if I'm using like fashion or permanent. With this wig over here, it was all like bright platinum blonde, like this closure is here. And I think I want to say I let her sit maybe 1.5 hours just to really let that dark color soak in and penetrate the super blonde hair. But most of the time, I will glue the wig on first, then color her so I can see where the placement is that way. Let that sit, wash her out the next morning even sometimes. And then I'll let the wig dry overnight because I don't want to add too much heat to it, because if you're heating up a wig with hot glue, the glue is going to want to start peeling off more that way. Another pro tip is to always use cold water when you're shampooing out your wigs too.
So as you go forward from here, do you see this something you make creatively to wear yourself or to sell? Are you planning on doing photo shoots? I know you, what's your thoughts for wig making for yourself?
For wig making for myself, it's normally just for photos like this type of thing. I mean, I could totally wear it if I wanted to, but I don't like wearing wigs personally, not unless I have to. I don't know, it makes my head itchy. No matter how good of quality hair it is. Like when I used to act and stuff, they always had me in different wigs because my hair's always been in natural colors. But I would totally let somebody wear this if they chose to once it was styled. It would just be to their discretion if they lost a piece of hair.
It's a creative outlet for you, but I also know I worked with someone in the salon I was in West Hartford, and she had several clients, guests who had wigs for different reasons, and she took care of them, and you know that was a good portion of clientele, and she did really well for herself.
Yeah, you absolutely can. I would probably be sewing them on something with like a mesh wig cap. I would be sewing them in that way if you wanted something more permanent versus the glue. It's quick and easy for photo shoots because I know I'm going to be reusing this hair for another project.
Yeah, that's great in this case too. But I think to there are so many options out there for wigs. So if anyone's watching this today, and I feel like we ran that poll earlier, and it was a large portion of students. There's you can make a livelihood off of different things with wigs, just wigs, you know.
Yeah.
And people love it and create really amazing work and beautiful things. So
Yeah, making wigs, I mean, this has been a creative outlet for me, and I had this idea for these specific photo shoots. Like, this one's going to be part of a collection once I'm allowed to work on a model again, and I get her hair and makeup and all that other stuff done. My friend Hunter and I have been working on something. So whenever we're allowed to use real people again, we have a little project up our sleeves. Hunter's a great friend of mine. He's an educator for Qun also, and he happens to live 5 minutes from my salon, so it's great. But him and I worked 10 hours one day making our first wigs together, and I gotta say, we were a little crazy by the end of that day. So it definitely does take some time and practice, and just make sure you're working with good tools, because like I said, my good hot glue gun is not with me right now, and I'm struggling a little bit, which is fine. You live and you learn. I know I'm never going to use this hot glue gun again when I make another wig. I'm going to have to go to the salon and get my good one.
so even you learned something today, which is in this instance, even though we're under a pandemic, always have a good hot glue gun.
Yes. This is just an old one I have that I don't even honestly remember when I bought it. So since I'm still working with the front, I'm still keeping everything finger width apart because I want to have all this fullness right through here. And then when I work towards the back, I'm scattering it a little bit more because this is going to be up and forward once it's styled. And generally it would take at least 2 to 3 packs of hair, but I only have 1 pack pre-cut. But once I finish off with this pack, I'll show you guys how to make a closure. And I always do the closure last. I normally don't glue it on until the day of the shoot, because once this stretches to somebody's head, you're going to have a different spot to where their give is going to be and how much hair you need to cover for the closure. Sometimes you even have too much stocking cap left that you have to knock and cut, depending on how large or small their head is.
And you're going to take some, you're going to style this, correct? And take some pictures for us so we can see it?
Yes, once I go through the 2 packs and I have everything glued on properly, I'll have her styled and pinned. She won't be colored just yet because I'm still, I think I have the color for this at my salon. Once again, that'd be me going back to check, which I haven't been to the salon in a couple weeks, honestly. But picking the color of your hair, make sure it's going with the theme that you want like your color scheme to go with. So I picked platinum blonde for my other one because I knew I wanted that blue black to really show through and pop on the hair, and I needed it light enough to put the hot pink panels in. So I don't know if you can see that it's got that blue cast to it. And I knew this one was going to be a warmer based project, so that's why I chose, I guess it's the strawberry blonde. I don't really know the name of this color, but I will go with that. Has anybody on this actually made a wig like this before?
And you've reused these on multiple projects, you said, right? Or you reused the hair? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can absolutely reuse the hair, rip it off, wash it, restyle it, and then get a new wig cap and go from there. Wig caps are so cheap, you can buy them in bulk on Amazon, so I'm always okay like reusing it. And plus, once this touched somebody's head, it's not necessarily sanitary, so I always throw it away, but I do always wash the hair before I reuse it, make sure I clean all the gunk off of it, and it gives me a fresh style to work with from there. Don't have to worry about cross-contamination that way, especially during a pandemic. Now, when you're hot gluing, you do have two different seams. I'm using the thicker seam because the thinner side is what I'm going to want to have out. It's easier to, cover that way. And make sure you have plenty of hot glue too. You can see I've already gone through like 3 or 4 sticks this way. So I always buy bulk packs of the extra glue. And I mean, I think I just got this all at Michael's. It wasn't terribly expensive. At least the Michael by me, they're doing like front door pickup or whatever. All right.
There's so many different qualities to choose from of hair here too, right? I'm imagining, forgive my ignorance, but I'm imagining, you invest in a better quality hair. You could color it different, you could color it or lighten it multiple times, reuse it, right?
Absolutely, you're correct. So this is all 100% human hair. You can get a blend of human and synthetic. I chose human hair for this because A, I knew I wanted to color it, and B, I knew I was going to be doing some pretty heavy duty heat styling on her. So I wanted to make sure it would stay like that. If you just want to play around, by all means, buy some synthetic hair and just see how your creation works and how your pattern works with everything. If you want to try to make like a center part or a side part, I would definitely be playing around with synthetic hair and see how she looks that way if you don't need to style it. Obviously, there are ways to style synthetic hair, and I just never wanted to mess with that, so I'm okay spending a little bit more money investing into human hair, just so I have the different options and I can reuse it more easily. I've never tried to reuse synthetic hair before.
And there's probably tons of patterns to lay out on the head, correct, for different things?
Oh, absolutely. It's really just playing around with it until you find one that works best for you and is easiest. Like having anywhere from the 1 inch to 1.5 inches wefts are the easiest for me to work with. I have friends that work with 2 inches. I have such a small head. I prefer the smaller wefts, and I'd rather stagger them a little bit closer in to have fuller hair that way versus the really long wefts. Because sometimes they hit the curvature of the head differently. Because if you don't know the model you're going to be using the hair on, you might not have enough, or their head might be too big and it breaks the glue, and you have to sit there and re-glue everything. And trust me, they don't want their hair hot glued onto their head like this. But in that case, since I'm finished up with that pack of hair, I still have another pack over here. My closure. So we'll pretend all the hair is bricklayed up here, and I'm to this point now. So I would take this. Well, before we move on to the closure, are there any questions that I might have missed?
Looks like we're good, just so you know. We're good.
Cool. So I'm going to take this and twist this and tie it in a knot, so then it's flat to the head. We'll pretend I've done that. And that's how you would prep it for your model, and then I would just cut off any extra. Now this is your closure. This is when you're going to want to use your hot glue, and then you're going to want to have a flat iron nearby to press it through. And I normally use about 4 inches of weft. So let me unravel this brand new pack of hair, and I can show you how to make one. Sometimes I'll use hot glue, other times I'll use bonding glue. It depends on if I have to make a weft the day of, or I've already have it pre-made and it fits. So get some junky shears or scissors. These aren't shark fins, these are some old ones. I would never use those to cut weft hair. And I'm gonna have this one be a little bit smaller just because I want it pretty full and still be able to fold forward. So I'm gonna use, we'll say about 4-ish inches. Split your hair. And then nip it right along the weft. You will see some hair fall. You always lose it when you cut the hair, but that's why I'm brushing every piece as I go. Now what you want to do for your weft or for your closure, start on your weft, put a little dot just on the edge here. And then you're going to fold this just just right over till it sticks. Once again, I'm having problems with this stupid hot glue. And then just kind of let that heat up in your hands. And then you're going to keep wrapping it and adding another dot of hot glue on the outside of that. And then we're going to roll that in. Then I would keep gluing and rolling this, but I don't feel like burning myself realistically. So once it's already rolled up, it's all rolled up and glued. You can see on this closure how much glue is on there, quite a bit. You're going to take it until it falls flat and it's brushed out. And then you're going to go in with your flat iron and you're going to just press it flat until this is as flat as you can get it. It will probably sizzle a little bit because of the glue. And then once it's heated up with the flat iron and the glue's heated up, you're just going to take this and press it flat to the head that way. So then that's pre-made for whenever you're shooting that day. So this is all tight. I'm going to use bonding glue at this point to glue this onto the model's head once it's everything settled. And then this I can still peel off, but I never reuse a closure because once again, you never know what the model's head's going to look like and how it's going to fit on their head too. You could absolutely reuse it if you choose to. Like I could peel this apart and make something else out of it, but I'll just use the bonding glue because again, it's not hot on their head. Glue that down and then that spreads out. Let me take that off. And then that'll just spread out across the hair super nicely, if you can see that. I know my lighting's not the best now. And that covers up all of your tracks and everything lays nice and flat once you have everything completed and your brick lays all done. So Miss Susie the mannequin can't see anything, but once she's parted and styled and I have everything completed, you're not going to really see any of the tracks once it's all done. Like I said, it's for editorial and photo shoot type work because once you have it on the model's head and they're styled and your hair's fluffed around how you want it, you don't need to worry about seeing any tracks that way either. Worst case scenario, if say like they have dark hair and you're using a blonde wig on them, put 2 stocking caps on them. And you can always put powder on the scalp if you need to blend anything in that way. So then you won't have to see any difference between, say, their scalp and the wig color, or if you have to hide any wefts that way, you can go in with it that way. So I would just use like an eyeshadow or an eyebrow powder, tap that in and hairspray it. And that'll help cover anything up that way too once you're shooting.
Do you only use one closure per wig usually, or are there times when you would use more than one?
There's times you can use more than one, but generally I've only ever used one. I mean, you can make multiples, but if you're just doing it in this type of style, you don't need to. Other times, when my friend Dallin was making one, he actually just brought like a little topper that was like a lace front topper, and he just glued that on, and it already had the part created for him. And again, this was very, very nice human hair. So you absolutely can like buy different toppers like that. And at that point, I would be reusing them. Those are expensive. Like I would wash them and reuse them. If I'm just making something like this, I would not.
Awesome. Thank you. Great stuff. So, so you're going to finish that up, right? And we'll see some stuff later on.
Yes.
Amazing. I want to thank you again for coming on and joining us. I'm going to give you the last 10 or 15 seconds or whatever to say whatever you need, and then once we're done, I'm just going to end the meeting or the class.
Yeah. So this was, you can get any length, any style. Just make sure you bricklay everything when you're doing this. Like I said, you could sew this on, make it more of a permanent look if you wanted something a little different. But the hot glue is so quick and easy. It's not going to take you long. Just make sure you let it cool overnight usually, and then go in and color it. If you have any other questions, you can reach out to me at Victoria Kelly Hairstyling on Instagram. I'm more than happy to answer them for you. Thank you for having me, Willie. Thank you, Shortfin, for having me. I am so happy to be a part of this family. I'm very grateful. And it was so nice to educate again because I've been missing that also. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.